a guy, he didn't use the word liar, but he like pretty much called me a liar. 8 or better, it's a high-low game. So to speed things up, a dealer should be splitting the pot as the hand is going on. That means, like, I put the flop cards out, and then I say, like, I guess I should be saying action to the first player. They usually know where the action is. And while action is going on around the table, that's when I'm splitting the pot. So there was a flop. It was 4 ways. The 9 seat was supposed to be first to act, then the 3, then the 5, then the 7. So I just started splitting the pot. The 9 seat never acted. He's supposed to act first. I saw out of the corner of my eye the 3 seat check. And right around that time, I heard the 9 seat, because he's right next to me on my right, I heard him say, I haven't acted yet. He didn't say it very loud, but I heard him. So I tried to slow the action. I never saw the 5 seat act. I never saw the 7 seat act. So if all that has happened out of turn is the 3 seat acting, then you just let the 9 seat act first. He does whatever he wants to do, and then action goes in order. If there is significant action, which is like any 3 actions, probably any 2 actions, especially if one of those 2 actions is a bet. If it's just 2 actions and they're both check, that's probably not going to be deemed significant action. But if there is so much action, like 3 people checking, then the 9 seat just missed his opportunity to act, and you say he checked. Like, that's how the rules work. I never saw the 5 seat act. I never saw the 7 seat act. I wasn't looking up. So I told the 9 seat he could act, and he bet. And the 3 seat, like, threw a tantrum about this. Which is hilarious, because the 3 seat had no chance to win this hand. If you saw how the rest of the hand played out, there was just absolutely no chance he was going to win the hand under any circumstance. I don't know what kind of magic card he was hoping for on the turn, that he was like fighting to the death to get this to check through, because as it turned out, he got his way. Everyone checked the flop, and then on the turn, the 9 seat bet, and the guy snap folded. Like, there's no way that the 3 seat was going to win the hand if he had a free card to the turn or not. But anyway, he's throwing a tantrum about this. I call the floor, and I tell the floor what happened. I say, I wasn't looking up, but I saw the 3 seat check, and that's when I heard the 9 seat say, I haven't acted yet, and that's when I stopped the action. And the 3 seat screaming, yeah, well, I checked, the 5 seat checked, and the 7 seat checked. And I said to the floor, I saw the 3 seat check, I didn't see the 5 seat do anything, I didn't see the 7 seat do anything. I didn't say I was looking directly at the 5, and I know for a fact he didn't act. I didn't say I was looking directly at the 7 seat the entire time, and I know for a fact he never acted. I didn't say anything close to that. I said I wasn't looking up, I didn't see. So the 3 seat, in all the things that he yelled, at one point yelled, the dealer is wrong. No, I wasn't wrong about anything. What he meant was the dealer didn't see the 5 seat check and the 7 seat check, because they said they did. Okay, even if they said they did, I did not see it. So the timing was important, though, because if the 9 seat said, you know, I haven't acted yet, before the 5 seat checked and the 7 seat checked, he should get to act. Like, if he's seeing action out of turn, it's up to him to stop the action and say, I haven't acted yet, so he could act. So it really mattered, the timing of everything, and I couldn't be much help because I wasn't looking up, and I didn't see the 5 seat, I didn't see the 7 seat. Whether or not they did something, I didn't see it. So eventually it was all ruled to check. Everyone checked around. Floor said the 9 seat just, yeah, have to be a little louder and a little quicker. And yeah, okay, I'm okay with that ruling, but I wasn't wrong like the 3 seat said I was. So we were on a 10-minute break. We weren't racing off low denomination chips, but every 4 levels, mostly for the bathroom, I guess, there's a break of 10 or 15 minutes. So we were on break, and the floor told me, you know, I'm breaking a table, so you're gonna be full. Okay. Still though, I can't deal in players who aren't there. So we had 6 players at the table, 3 seats were open, it's 9-handed. And the floor told me, like, when we get off break, like, I'm going to break a table and your table is going to be full. All right. But, like, as soon as break hit 0 on the tournament clock, I start dealing. And 2 guys made it to the table very quickly. The 5 seat was open, the 7 seat was open, the 9 seat was open. The guy who took the 7 seat got there very quickly. I hadn't dealt a card to the 7 seat yet. So he got there, I dealt him a card. The guy in the 9 seat got there very quickly. I dealt him a card. No one's in the 5 seat. I can't deal someone who's not there. So I dealt, I think the button was in the 2. So like I dealt the 3 seat a card, the 4 seat a card, the 6, 7, new player, 8, 9, new player to the table. Then I dealt the 1, then I dealt the 2 seat a card. I dealt everyone a second card. They're getting 4 cards. It's Omaha 8. I dealt everyone a second card, and then I dealt the 3 seat her third card, the 4 seat his third card, and now eventually the 5 seat comes to the table, and he says this needs to be a misdeal because he wasn't dealt in. He wasn't at the table. He said I should have been dealing in the empty chair. And if he doesn't get there on time, then kill the hand. If he does get there on time, he gets to play it. I mean, I don't play tournaments and I don't deal tournaments. You know, as of 17 days ago or something, I had never dealt a tournament in a casino in my life. But I doubt that's the rule. Even though the floor gave me a heads up that the table was gonna fill up, I really, really doubt I should be dealing in people who aren't there. So, I don't know, that guy made a huge deal out of it. In this, none of the players agreed with the 5 seat that I should have been dealing him in while he wasn't at the table yet. So, he made a huge deal about that, and then, like most people do, said, oh, but it's not a big deal. This was great. So, if you're all in a cash game, you don't need to show your cards. You need to show your cards if you want to win, but you don't need to show your cards. Tournaments, I don't know why it's different, but it is different. You need to show. On the street with the all-in, like as a dealer, I stop. I don't keep dealing, and I usually say one of a few things. Sometimes I say like, must see cards on an all-in, must show cards for an all-in, I need to see all the cards before I could keep dealing, something like that. I never say anything that's like, I don't know, to me, it's never anything but like neutral, just like telling people, because some people don't know. Some people play much more cash than tournaments, and they're used to, I don't need to show my cards. So I say it. I say it, especially if people aren't showing their cards quickly. So like a week ago or so in a tournament, there was an all-in. It was like bet, raise, all-in, call. One guy shows his cards very quickly. The second guy doesn't. In addition to not showing his cards, he wasn't moving. He wasn't moving his body at all. He wasn't moving his arms at all. He wasn't moving his hands at all. Like no part of him was moving. And it was just like when I'm at a red light and the light turns green. Like, I feel like when I'm at that light, if I wait half a second to honk, that's normal. If I wait like 2 seconds to honk because the car in front of me isn't moving, I've given you an eternity. And you should be apologizing to me for having everyone in line wait 2 seconds. Like 2 seconds is such an enormous amount of time in that situation. It was just like that in this hand. The first guy showed and the second guy didn't, and I feel like I waited like 2 seconds, so I felt like I waited like enough time, and I didn't like say anything to make the guy think I hated him. I just said like, I need to see all the cards on an all-in. Thought maybe he plays like way more cash than tournaments. He didn't know he had to show his cards. That's all I said. Like, I need to see the cards on an all-in. And he turned him. He like snapped his head. It was the quickest he moved all day. He like snapped his head to look at me, and he said, "Patience, man." Which I didn't expect the guy who was like 90 years old to say that. But I actually thought I was incredibly patient giving him those 2 seconds. Like, if I gave him like a quarter of a second, I can understand him being a little agitated. It was partly worse because, of course, he was all in and he was behind. He saw the other guy's cards and he was behind. He happened to hit a miracle on the river to win, so he wasn't as mad the rest of the down. But that was hilarious. I don't know how much more patient I could be than to give the guy 2 seconds before I say something. But all right, he has a different idea of what patience is. This was flight 1G of the Maine, very close to being done for the day. And if you survive day 1, then you come back for day 2. So very close to making it into day 2, which was in the money. If you made it to day 2, you got paid. This guy raises under the gun. Not a very big raise. A lot of people at that table were going min. I think this guy went like 2.5x. Player, I think he was in the cutoff, called, and it gets to the small blind, who tanks. Don't care if you do it every hand. Like, it was a long time for a pre-flop decision for 2.5 blinds, and he was in the small, so it was 2 more blind. It's like, I'm not saying the only times there are like tough decisions or close decisions are when there are huge bets, but just couldn't imagine this being like all that tough. Like, clearly he wasn't folding. Whatever is the better move of call or raise, like whichever one is better, the worst one is not an awful decision. Like, it wasn't like a close decision where the right decision and the wrong decision were like gonna result in like massively different results. He thought forever. Someone calls the clock. I call the floor over. He gets 30 seconds. Awesome that he gets 30 seconds, not a minute. He gets 30 seconds with like 2 seconds left. He calls. Okay. So they go to the flop 3-way. The big blind folded. They go to the flop 3-way. I think it was like 9-8-4. He checks the original raiser. Bets, I don't know, not huge. Maybe like 3 big blinds, like about the same bet as he bet pre-flop. The guy in the middle folds. And now back to the small blind. And he tanks again. And after about 2 minutes, and oh, there was a reason we knew it was about 2 minutes. After about 2 minutes, a different guy calls the clock. And I call the floor. And while the floor is walking over and as the floor is there, the guy is going crazy. He throws a tantrum. He just keeps, because a tournament clock was very close to us. One of the TV monitors was very close to our table. It was like right there in front of us. And the guy just keeps saying, it's only been 2 minutes. It's only been 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. I've been looking at the tournament clock. I've only been thinking for 2 minutes. Dude, if you think 2 minutes per street is not enough time, how long is this hand supposed to take? 2 minutes isn't enough. He doesn't feel like people should be calling the clock yet. What, 3 minutes? If he gets 3 minutes, I mean, I'm sure this guy's an entitled piece of garbage, but if he gets 3 minutes, why doesn't the raiser get 3 minutes per decision? Why doesn't the guy in the middle get 3 minutes per decision? Are 3 players each supposed to get 3 minutes to think per street? Is this hand supposed to take over a half hour? It is insanity that he thinks 2 minutes per street. He needed the clock called on him twice, pre-flop and on the flop, because each time he took about 2 minutes before he was forced to do something. I don't care what his cards are. That is insane. If it's too much money that's on the line that you can't make a decision on any street in under 2 minutes, you shouldn't be playing the tournament. If you're gonna do this like ever and have this result, I'm not saying this guy tanked every hand. I mean, there are people who tank every hand. That's annoying also. This guy wasn't tanking every hand. I don't care that it was a one-time thing. It was like so much time he spent for each decision. The fact that he thinks he wasn't given enough is shocking. Poker room should be banning him for life. He just should decide, he should like pick another hobby, because this isn't for him. If he thinks 2 minutes pre-flop isn't enough time, he was kind of mad the clock was called pre-flop, and if he thinks 2 minutes on the flop after the clock was already called, the floor didn't know what was going on. The floor came over and said, is this the same hand? I said, yeah, same hand, it's the next street though. Clock was called again. And when the floor said, did you have enough time? I really wanted to say, yes, he's had an eternity. This is ridiculous. I just said yes. It was awful. Awesome that people called the clock. And the guy folded. I think he made his own decision to fold before time ran out. He only got 20 seconds the second time. Awesome. All floor people should do that. I don't care what the rules say. All floor people should do that. If the clock needs to be called on the same person, every time you walk over, the floor should give the guy fewer seconds. Now, at some point, you reach like a bottom limit. I guess, like, if I were the floor and I kept getting called over, I guess I would never go under 5 seconds. You know, 30, then 20, then 10, then 5. And for the rest of the night, every time I'm called over, 5 seconds. I mean, to get called over and give the guy 1 second doesn't really make any sense, but fewer and fewer seconds every time. That's how you get people to stop tanking. So, there are other ways. I mean, you could berate them mercilessly, which some people do. Yeah, but that was insane. That he thought 2 minutes per street was not enough time. Unfortunately, I did see him in the room during the day 2 restart on Sunday, so unfortunately he cashed and he has that much more money to go play other tournaments and ruin them the best he could, but that was shockingly bad. And remember, rice is a spoon food.